Well, hello everybody. It's Monday. Welcome to Aquarius Rising Africa on marvelous, mystery, magical Monday with beautiful Brice. So I'm so happy to have you here. So hello Morné, hello Brice. And yeah, I hope you guys have all had a fantastic week. Hello Scotty, always good to see you. Hope you guys have had a fantastic week. And yeah, wow, crazy times. Button up. That's all I can say. We're in for some high jump, but if we've been practicing, I think this is the test. This is the test ground coming up for us now. So knowledge is power. You know, when we understand certain things, when we know certain things, we can move in whatever direction we choose to move in. But today we're talking about the Orphic Mystery School, or Orpheus, or Orpheans. I mean, it's such a crazy. I mean, I was certainly doing some research on that this week, and it's quite crazy because they all just seem so dang confused, and it's very confusing, right? It's a very confusing cult. But anyway, hello, Brice. Over to you.
I'm so happy to be here too. I know I was saying, you guys, I got sick again. So this is my first time. If you were on my channel, I haven't posted any videos this week besides the ones at the beginning of the week. It's because I got sick again, but I'm really happy to be here to talk about this because I'm glad you led with that, Shanti, because it's really important. I mean, the Cassiopeians say that all the time. Knowledge is power, knowledge protects, and knowledge is infinite. And that means if you don't stop learning, you stop. If you stop learning, you stop evolving, and if you stop evolving, you die, right? Like, it's a constant loop of relearning and relearning and relearning and relearning. And I know that this topic might be hard for a lot of people to hear because this is basically what a lot of scholars believe is the father of all Abrahamic religions. And this is another reason, I think I said this last week when we spoke about Dionysus. This is why I don't like using the name Jesus, because I prefer to speak about Yeshua, which was a different person from Jesus. Jesus is an offshoot of Dionysus, of Zeus, of Satan, whereas Yeshua was what the bad guys did was they took some of his teachings, his followings, which, the real Yeshua, when we talk about the real teachings of the real Christ, are the teachings of Christ consciousness, you're looking at a teaching that mirrors Eastern philosophy as far as like, you're your own savior. You got to work through your shit. The real teachings of Yahshua are very much the Ulyssean mystery schools, which we know Yahshua went through that as an initiate, right? And that was the mystery school that got completely destroyed. And so this, I really asked that.
Sorry, this one, it's interesting. You're talking about literally being the father of the Abrahamic religions, which is so interesting because that would include Christianity as well, and Islam.
Judaism, and
Judaism as well, yes, right. So when we're looking, and because what they're saying in this cult is that it's actually the Dionysiad. It's either like
it's
an initiation for the Dionysiad cult, right? So, or is it vice versa? I can't remember now.
This was considered the Protestant Reformation before the Protestant Reformation happened, which for me is very curious because I know Shanti Morné, we've talked a lot about Tartaria and our speculations on Tartaria and whether some historical events really happened or not. And so this might be a sign that what we know of as the Protestant Reformation in modern times maybe didn't happen the way we think it happened, and maybe it's more pointing us in direction of what happened with the Orphic mystery schools, which is going to be very complicated, I know, for a lot of Americans, especially because the Protestant Reformation that happened that started really in the 1500s in Europe, for a lot of Americans, that is huge significance to you. I know as an American, we talk about that a lot because that's why a lot of our ancestors came to the New World, was because of the battles of religion happening in Europe. That's why they tell us there was a huge historic run on the New World by Germans, French people. I know the Edict of Nantes was established by King Henry IV of France, and then when Louis XIV, the Sun King, the famous Sun King who built Versailles, he revoked the Edict of Nantes. The Edict of Nantes was basically an edict saying that all religions were acceptable, that you could practice without persecution. But when Louis XIV revoked it, I know that's when a huge chunk of my ancestors from France and Germany, my Huguenot ancestors from France and Germany, came to the New World, was because all of a sudden it was now fair game to chop heads off of Protestants. So I know that saying that in itself, it's not just the religious implications for people who are Christian, but it's also the idea that part of your identity as an American, for a lot of Americans watching, your identity is kind of tied up into this Protestant Reformation that triggered an onset of so many people immigrating over to the colonies.
But isn't this interesting? What dates are we talking here?
The Orphic Mystery Schools a long time ago. But again, what I'm saying is we don't actually know the dates of anything, really. And since we know if Tartaria, I'm not saying the Protestant Reformation didn't happen. I'm just saying that this is another clue that maybe our history isn't what we think it is. Maybe it's.
I'm sure of that. You know, I'm absolutely sure of that. There's not even a question in my mind around that. But I just find it interesting that's why I'm asking you for dates, because I'm trying to coincide how that would dovetail, for example, with colonization.
Yeah.
Because if you're thinking about all the, let's say, the French, for example, are strong. The Huguenots, I've also got strong French blood in me, right? Mm-hmm. That's one of my main bloodlines.
Yeah.
But it's like they came here, and that's why I said I'd be interested to know the dates, because it seems like when things got rough for them, they ran and then would have also, and not just the French, by the way, we're talking Europe as well, and then colonized parts of the world. So like in colonizing Africa and doing to the Africans what the Orphics were doing to them, or whatever, the Protestants, who knows what it was, because we don't know where it actually came from. I was actually listening to a lot of stuff on this, and everyone has the same thing, right? Is that there's a lot of confusion in this. Because they're also vegans, but yet they it's crazy. But anyway, carry on.
I said this on my channel, like every scholar, and when I research, guys, I want to be very clear about how I research. I don't censor any type of research. I will listen to all the mainstream narratives, as far as like professors from Cambridge, professors from Harvard. I'll read their articles, and then I'll look at contradictory stuff, because I want to get the big picture. I'm not going to censor any information just because a professor is hired by Cambridge. Doesn't mean that everything he's telling you is false. I want to know what they're teaching people. And the common denominator I found throughout every scholar's research into the Orphic Mystery Schools was that this shit's wild. There's so much detail to this cult that we're just scratching the surface as to what they actually did. And every single one of them said, this is my opinion now, but it might be different in a year, because we're learning more and more and more and more about this cult. And so you have to kind of take everything you should take everything with a grain of salt anyway, when it comes to research, because as we know, things are manipulated. And looking at my kind of perspective, though, as somebody who's here with you guys sharing inconvenient truths, is that we know a lot about the dirty-handedness of the church today. And so I wouldn't be surprised, I'm not trying to sound arrogant, but I wouldn't be surprised if those of us watching right now and us actually have a better grip on the Orphic Mystery Schools, because we understand what's going on in the churches today. Does that make sense? Like, we know that we have people like Jesse Zaboter, like, we know the underhanded deeds that are going on. So I have a feeling that people like us probably have a more integral understanding than some of these professors who have no clue that this shit's still going on. They think this is all stuff of the past. Right. And so
my take on that would be, those are the guys that are the gatekeepers usually.
Yeah.
That's what I think, because they would, if they were in those positions, they would have obviously had to have studied the science or the cult quite a bit, and they would actually know what's going on. So I'm sure they would be the gatekeepers and actually giving just enough information to keep everyone titillated. I'm always going to look at stuff like that. That's just me.
Exactly. They're exactly right. In order to deceive and manipulate, you need that much of truth to lure the people in. So look at that. So, and that's where discernment comes now as well. But these people they're speaking truth. There's truth coming out.
Yeah.
You just have to look past the manipulation, the deception, in that sense, to find whatever you need to look at.
Yeah. It's just anyway, yeah, I would highly, absolutely suggest every person as always research this for yourself. I also want to remind you guys before we get into this, because I know it's going to trigger some of our more fundamentalist Christians. We're just the messengers. This is information that you can research for yourself, and I encourage you to research it, because I want to remind you guys, like that's what they call cognitive dissonance. When you know that and cognitive dissonance is seeing the truth but believing the lie, right? And so if you know that the medical industry, the educational industry, the political industry, if you know every single facet of our world, the beauty industry has been corrupted, but you think the church is safe, you might be in a cult. If that's the top of the pyramid, guys. And so the story of Jesus,
the church is the infiltrator.
It's it, guys. Like that's it. That's the leader. Like follow the leader. That's the leader. That's it. That's the main guy. So and with that,
who me? All is all sweet and innocent.
I know they keep talking about like David the Savage, the head of Scientology, like hitting people, and they're like, "Can you imagine the Pope hitting people?" I'm like, "Absolutely, I can. Absolutely."
Well, I can tell you something about Ratzinger. I mean, talking about popes, Ratzinger is a well-known abuser on African soil. That's for sure.
I mean, hitting people, they eat people. Like, what are you talking about?
They do a lot more than hit people.
I know. I was like, hitting is nothing compared to what they do. So I just, and the Protestant churches fall under that as well. And so I want to remind you guys, especially, I want to give some compassion to, I understand that when you've been grandfathered into a faith and you've been taught to believe a faith your whole life, and that's where you find comfort and peace, and then all of a sudden you are shown that this faith is actually kind of corrupt. I understand that can be scary. I get that. That can be terrifying. When people are terrified, they project out. But I want to promise you that Jesus of the church and Yeshua are different people. And the teachings of Yeshua are so beautiful, and you're okay. You're fine. God loves you. You know, on the other side of that fear of being like, oh shit, this isn't what I thought it was. On the other side of that fear is your liberation, is your peace, is that, and I promise you it's going to be okay. But I would absolutely encourage you guys to look this up. It's a doozy, because you're going to go on quite a, because as Shanti said, like this is one of the most wild, this is the wildest mystery cult as of yet. And so
it's crazy. It's crazy, actually.
There's so many different places to start. And I think what I'm going to start with today with you guys, if you guys don't mind, is what happened in 1962 in Derveni, Macedonia. Should we start there with that discovery? Did you study that, Shanti?
You go. I have not a lot, no, but you go with that.
Well, I'm just going to go ahead and bring this up first. Was this happened in 1962? And I cannot remember this guy's name. I'm gonna have to go back, and I'm a little sick, guys, and I apologize. I listen to this one guy a lot. He's a professor of history, especially ancient history. And when I've listened to his lectures before, it's been very cut and dry, boring, like very much like this is what happened, like this came that, and then that happened. But I'll listen to what he has to say when I'm doing research. So I listened to him talk about these papyruses that were found in 1962. And I laughed so hard because this professor has not once shown an ounce of personality. But when he was talking about this find, he was like, I think they need to put that stuff back. Like, this is scary, guys. Have you seen Indiana Jones? Like, all of a sudden, his personality came out. He was like, this sounds like a really bad thing. We need to put it back. Like, you know. So anyway, this is what happened in 1962 in Derveni, Macedonia. I hope I'm saying that right, which of course is there with Greece. So right where all of this happened. They were, in 1962, they were doing construction on the road construction, like, we all go through it, right? Like they're widening a road, and the construction workers hit on a graveyard from a buried cemetery from what was considered the ancient city of Lete. And this graveyard was probably from around the 4th century BC, so a long time ago. Again, take dates with a grain of salt. What they found in this necropolis was a manuscript that is now considered to be the oldest in the Western world. It also gave us much needed insight into the Orphean mystery schools. Everything in these tombs were perfectly preserved. Because of the climate of Greece, the papyrus was pretty well intact, which we see the same.
I want to just check, is this the same? Because what I've got here is in the 1950s. Is this the same thing that the Soviets actually discovered?
I didn't see that case. That's a different case. This is
okay.
This is,
all right. Wow.
Too. So this is what with these papyruses that they found in this necropolis, and this necropolis had not been touched. Like, they didn't know it was there until they were widening this road. Can you imagine? I think I would have nightmares for the rest of my life if I was widening a damn road and hit a grave. Listen, I'm from the deep South. You don't mess with graves down here, right? Like, you don't mess with that shit. So have you seen the stories of building houses on top of old Native American burial grounds? Like, you don't mess with that shit.
You don't do it. You simply don't do it.
So if I had been a construction worker and I hit that necropolis, I'd been like, all right, guys, I'm going to go home. Y'all have fun with this. So I'm moving to
I quit.
I just want all the spirits to know that I don't agree with this. Haunt them instead.
I do not consent.
I do not want to bother you guys. R.I.P. Rest in peace. So anyway, what we see with these papyruses that they found in this graveyard was basically kind of the same thing they found with the Nag Hammadi Library, the Dead Sea Scrolls, where the environment was so perfect. Like, if that stuff was here in the South, it's so humid down here in the South, it would have disintegrated a long time ago. But anyway, so the Dervenia papyrus is the original text from ancient Greece. It's the only original text to survive to modern times. This is a very important papyrus historically. All of our other texts we have from ancient Greece are copies of copies of copies. This is the only one we have that is actually from that time period. It was 266 fragments with 26 columns. Finally published for the public in 2006. It is now kept at a museum in Greece, and it is owned by the, drumroll please, the UN now owns it. Anytime the UN owns something, we go, oh, there's something to this. There's something they don't want us to know. That's why the UN now owns Göbekli Tepe, right? Like, they don't want us to know something about that ancient site, right? So anyway, it took 44 years for scholars to try to figure out how to arrange the text. So that's their story as to why it took so long for this text.
44 years. I find that also interesting. 44, the 4 and the 4.
Right. And it took to try to put together a puzzle piece. Like, no, they figured that out probably pretty quickly, how to arrange it. Yeah.
But I just find, I mean, with these sorts of things, I mean, the more we're learning about this and the more we're hearing about this, numerology is such an important aspect of the cults, along with obviously the planets and the moon cycles and the equinoxes and gosh knows what else, but also numerology is super, super, super important to them. So it's interesting when we're looking at the, 4 and 4 is the 8.
Yep.
And 8 for me, I mean, when you're looking astrologically, 8 is the 8th house in astrology is Scorpio, which is ruled by Pluto, which is deep transformation, literally takes you to Hades. Now, I'm just going on a limb here, right? Now, when you're looking at a lot of what these kind of cults are about as well, it's a lot about that because, again, we're looking at these guys with music, poetry, nature, shamanism. I mean, these guys are also deep shamans, right? They do a lot of the shamanic type journeys as well. Now, of course, the shamanic journey doesn't always go for the good.
Right. It's just a tool.
Yeah. You certainly, I mean, knowledge is power. You're going to take that knowledge and you're going to use it you're going to bend it and twist it we know now that's how, I mean, energy is very, very capable of being manipulated.
Absolutely. Very. Well, and isn't it interesting too that the UN owns it and they're still practicing these practices?
Yeah, well, this is what I'm saying.
Yeah, they're still doing it.
4 years. You know what I'm saying? It's like there's something there that has given them access to something on a deeper level. That's what I'm thinking.
And I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall for the head of the bad guys when they found out some construction workers They're like, oh shit, like some construction workers actually found this. Like, I don't know. I just see the humor in that. But anyway,
yeah,
so
exactly.
they found.
Well, I mean, the thing for me is they probably would have known it was there anyway, and we're hoping like hell that no one would discover it or it wouldn't be discovered.
Damn construction workers, man.
Yeah. Poor construction workers get the bad rap for everything, right?
They're just trying to feed their family. They're just trying to widen that road. That's all they were contracted to do, was widen that road. That was
next. Yeah, they go.
Now the UN knows who they are. No, yeah. So okay, so this is where, okay, so on these papyruses, let me explain to you how they found these papyruses. They were found within a big golden urn of ashes of both a male and a female. So it was a male and a female in this urn together with these papyruses for this, or I mean, gross. Like if I pulled out a papyrus with body parts of a man and a female, I don't think I'd stop throwing up. I think I'd be like, I'm done. This is disgusting. Anyway.
Was it mummified?
No, it was ashes, like incinerated. Like they were burned. I mean, I'm assuming they died. Like I'm assuming they weren't sacrifices. Nothing was led to me to believe that they were actually it seemed like they were very wealthy Greek family, wealthy people who were kind of buried together at death. I mean, we still do that now. My grandparents are buried beside each other. Like I don't know. Maybe they were sacrifices. My head, I was like, they just that's just their necropolis. But okay, so when they started looking at the fragments, the opening of one of I actually loved this line. It's so ominous. I think I'm gonna like start putting that like on my my shala door or something. Close the door, you uninitiated. That was like the first line. Close the door, you uninitiated. And I just loved it. I was like, when does it ever work? Like, when does it ever work? We're like, close the door, you uninitiated. I'm gonna be like, no, now I want to press the red button, like push me in. Like, when has someone ever been like, okay, I'll close the door now? Like, no. We've all seen Eyes Wide Shut. Tom Cruise snuck into that party because he wanted to see what the hell was going on.
Exactly. So and isn't this so true to human nature? You see, because I think all of these cults, this is just my synopsis. They're all created by different sects, right? Of people, but really it's really just an experiment of human nature. And, seriously, think about it. How far can you go in whatever level? So when you're looking at these cults, it's all about temptation. And if there's one thing I love, tempt me and I'm going to go, it's like, I think in different levels of that as well. So people get, the mystery. Think about the mystery. The minute there's a mystery to something, people are intrigued.
That's basically my whole channel, right?
Yeah. So you're intrigued to figure out what it is that's about.
What's being hidden? What are they hiding?
Yeah, exactly.
We're all basically Tom Cruise and Eyes Wide Shut. We're all Tom Cruise. We're just gonna sneak into that party and see for ourselves what's going on. I mean, that's and I think that's brought the. But I just laugh so hard. Close the door, you uninitiated. And then I reckon too, because most of us were raised in a Christian home, we're all initiated. So you're not an uninitiative, right? And so
Satan. Be gone with you.
Banned you.
Oh, we had a Satan. Oh, Satan was like,
we have Satan. Satan on the channel. What have you?
Satan heard us say, close the door, you uninitiated. And he was like, here I come. So.
Horns and all.
Here I come. I'm coming.
That joke.
I know. We're like, no, sorry. You want to close the door, you want initiative. Get out of here. Get out of here.
Exactly.
So, okay, this is where it gets creepy. This was in the one professor I was listening to.
Satan just got creepy. Satan just got creeped.
No, he got creeped. He was like, these are too much for me. Okay, so in the text, we see instructions.
Oh, yes, Madu. Yes, Madu. Close the door, you uninitiate. Get out of here.
I've never gone. Wow. Okay, well, Satan and Mordok is like Guys, be strong.
I'm telling you, this is why that professor was like, put it back, put it back, put it back.
Okay, guys.
Somebody is not happy about telling people to tell. I think people are not happy about telling people to close the doors and sit in interviews here.
I'm having such fun. Can we at least just screenshot these comments from these trolls before we delete them? I'm so amused.
We haven't even gotten into what the Orphic Mystery School believes yet. They're already running, guys.
Oh, Marduk, I'm so scared of you.
Prince.
Okay. Listen, we're living to tell the tale, you guys. We're living to tell the tale. But y'all, okay, so speaking of Marduk and Satan, in the text, there were instructions on occult practices. These included, okay, so you guys remember how the Dionysius cult, they would like summon spirits to possess them? Well, the Orphic Mystery cult, if that spirit you summoned to possess you was getting on your nerves, in the Orphic Mysteries cult, you learned how to now get rid of it.
Tiny warlock.
We have a warlock.
Oh, yes, Tiny. Tiny must be very tiny. Gosh, man. Tiny, go be tiny somewhere else now. Come. Toddle off.
Tiny warlock, I hate to tell you this, buddy, but I am the least of your concerns. There are hundreds of scholars out there with way too
Oh my God!
time.
Yeah, these people to stop. I've never seen this before. But anyway, carry on.
What is it about this topic? What is about this topic? There's something that they don't want us to speak about here.
Because it's Christianity. This is modern day Christianity. And
but why does Satan, Marduk, and Warlock care about Christianity?
Marduk.
Because they don't want us to expose to people. Because if the controllers still have a clutch on people through the church, then they're still winning. So as long as the church is not exposed,
completely. Yes,
then we can all not get the zipper doodah. We can all, but if they've still got their clutches on people through the church, through these Orphic mystery schools, then the cabal's still on top. So that's why they don't want us talking about it. It's because once people start to wake up to religion, then it's totally over for them. Besides, doing shrooms and peyote are way more fun than going to church, guys. So there was in the text within this
Lucifer is now here.
Now we have Lucifer.
Lucifer.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. Morné, carry on. We just carry on.
All right. Yes, so in the papyrus, in the vase, the vase that, as we say in the South, the vase that had the ashes in it, it said, we saw instructions, occult ritual instructions. So in the Dionysian cult, if you wanted to be possessed by a spirit and that spirit did what it needed to do to you for you and you were tired of it, it showed you how now to get rid of it, how to get rid of the demons is actually what it called, a demon. They also showed you how to properly do sacrifices to Uranus, who is a deity of vengeance in Greek mythology. And they had a strong belief in the Magi. Now, people might recognize the word Magi from the birth of Jesus in the Bible. When I say Jesus, I don't mean Yahshua. Yahshua was born in Egypt. Jesus or Mithra or Orpheus were born in Bethlehem, right? Not Yahshua. So who came to see Jesus at his birth? These were the Magi. Magi are known as the priests of Mithraism, and Orpheism became Mithraism in the Roman times, which we've talked about Mithraism a lot on my channel through the Council of Nicaea. They were also big believers, or the Magi were huge into magic, creating magic, all that kind of stuff. This papyrus also spoke about how many times Zeus had raped humans. We have another one now.
Carry on, Brice. These guys are obviously got nothing better to do with their time, really.
Yeah, and just wait, friends. If you're that cognitively, and I'm going to say to that guy, Russ, still grifting, this is not I didn't create this up. I didn't make this up, Russell. You need to do your research. This is actual fact. All right. So it also spoke of the many rapes of Zeus, which again is where we get the name Jesus from, of Zeus. It also talked about how Orpheus is a savior who helps people gain security in the afterlife. Does that sound familiar?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Okay. So let's go back now and talk about who Orpheus was, the actual Orpheus, like the person that this came from. And this kind of cracks me up because ancient historians debated on whether Orpheus was really a person or not, which I find funny because in our lifetime, people have debated on whether Jesus was a real person or not. So Orpheus and Jesus, you're going to see a lot of parallels. Again, not Yahshua. I want to make that very clear. I'm not talking about Yahshua. I'm talking about Jesus, different person. So according to Britannica, Orpheus is the ancient Greek legendary hero endowed with superhuman musical skills. He became the patron of religious movement based on sacred writings said to be his own. What is Christianity? Well, the New Testament of the Bible is basically letters that were written by Paul, which is kind of funny in itself that the whole Christian faith is based off of a bunch of letters written by some guy who never even knew. Anyway, all right, he was also considered to be a poet and a prophet. Many ancient Greek philosophers and historians believe that Orpheus really lived. The only exception to this is Aristotle. Aristotle did not believe that Orpheus was a real person, that he really lived. He was the rogue philosopher when it came to this, which I love Aristotle. My favorite quote is an Aristotle quote. It's a sign of an intelligent mind who can entertain an idea without accepting it. That's an Aristotle quote. So it is said that his musical power was so great that it could enchant and spellcast anything, even causing nature to bend to his will. Wow. So
exactly.
Boom.
Wow.
Isn't that another way for like another form of MK Ultra mind control? Think about the music our kids listen to today. That
Pied Piper.
I thought about the Pied Piper too. Yeah. Absolutely. This is wild. Some believe he was the founder of medicine, practiced magical arts, practiced astrology, founded cults dedicated to both Apollo and Dionysus, created his own cult mystery rites, which are preserved in the Orphic text. All right, so Strabo, who was another Greek philosopher and historian, really did believe that Orpheus lived. And so Strabo himself lived between 64 BC and 24 AD. Strabo was one who believed Orpheus to be a real person who lived near Olympus. Strabo believed that Orpheus as a human made money off of his magic and his wizardly skills. That to me, just my first gut instinct was snake oil salesman. This guy was a snake oil salesman, right? That was my first gut feeling. That his story of his life got even more exaggerated over time. According to Andre Bollinger, who was a French professor of literature, I thought this was interesting. The main characteristics of Orpheism, or the Orpheus religious mystery schools, were the consciousness of sin, the need of purification and redemption, plus eternal punishment for those who were not redeemed through Orpheus. What does that sound like? Just
wow.
That's Christianity.
Exactly. Look, it's amazing, right? It's amazing because at the end of the day, okay, sorry, now I'm thinking of actually something a little bit further on. But it's amazing when you're looking at that, the redemption, right? Mm-hmm. Of, as you say, unless you were redeemed through Orpheus.
Through this, yeah.
Yes. you were now not saved.
I mean,
so that is exactly.
It sounds like a Baptist church in the South.
Exactly, but again, look at what they're saying in the beginning. Okay, it is basically from the Abrahamic religions are created from this, mm-hmm. and it's all what they say. You have to be redeemed through a man, mm-hmm. through a person. Same thing with the Catholic Church. I mean, I'm seeing the same thing here. You got to go and sit and say, "Please forgive me, Father."
It's the same thing.
Sorry, Daddy, I've been naughty.
Yes, you got to go, and then you got to like hope and pray. Like at least in the Protestant churches, like you got to hope and pray your redemption was enough, and it's going to be a surprise when you die to see if you made it or not. And that's how.
And I'm sure this is how. What they do is they do soul capturing based on this. I'm telling you, because when we start looking, and guys, I want to tell you, you need to watch my shows with Caleb on a Thursday, because we're talking with someone who's been through it all on both sides. So when we're talking about how they capture souls and how they do it and what they use it for, right? Now we're understanding this, or I am at least, because it's all through redemption and control. And only when you are out of control, right, and not in your own control, disconnected, in other words, when you're disconnected, you're not within your control. When I talk about disconnected, to God, your creator, right, each other, human relationships are so important to be connected to, right, because that's a manifestation of our connection to the divine, or to God, is our connections to our family, our friends, our animals, our planet, our nature, everything.
Our own sovereignty, our own autonomy.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, that sense of self.
Absolutely.
And we're even going to get to, guys, because he was killed too, just in the same manner in which, not in the same manner, but he was a sacrifice too, which we'll get to, because it so parallels the Jesus story. So the big thing, and this is crazy, guys, because we're going to see this reference in the Bible. This is where we see a huge reference in the Bible.
So hang on, Brice, at this point, I want to just, sorry to interrupt you, and I want to just say thank you to our viewers. You guys rock. Crucial 13, I'm loving your messages as well. Obviously, you've got a channel of sorts, so it'd be cool to actually connect with you as well. Thank you so much, Lisa, CM, whoever that is, but we really just... Thank you. I mean, I don't quite remember that we've ever had as many trolls.
It's now Satan, Lucifer, Grifty, Mordok,
Archangel Michael, also.
And dragons. It's like
they really don't want us talking about this, because it's so, excuse my language, but it's so fucking obvious. It doesn't take a genius to realize this is Christianity, right?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
They don't want, and that's the last grip that they have on humanity. And so the more we talk about this, and it's not just Chantelle, me, and Morné, it's you guys watching too, because I know we have so many people who are totally on board, and you're spreading this word too, and this consciousness is changing, and that's scary to them, because then they lose their power. So let the bullies are just crybabies at the end of the day. Listen, those bullies would never be able to handle half the shit we've all put up with. So you guys are awesome. Thanks. I feel like our viewers right now are like our protectors, right?
Oh, bodyguards.
I know, you're bodyguards. I love it.
There are days where we need you guys so much. You have
and
no
as I
idea.
say, we're gonna win this, and we're gonna look a whole lot cuter doing it than they've ever looked. So just put that smile on your face and be that badass bodyguard, and with that lipstick and pearls on, and be cute doing it, because nothing would piss them off more. So
lip gloss. We got lip gloss. Hey.
I have gloss too. Yes.
To show you.
See, actually, I could put a little of mine on too, because I feel like I'm a little out of color today. All right, Lucifer. All right, UN.
Lucy and boys. Lucy and
we're gonna keep going now, because this is fun. This is fun. We're totally Nancy Drew in this. We caught you. We totally caught you. All right. So the big story of Orpheus is with his lover Eurydice, which there's a few different ways to say her name, and I liked Eurydice best. Eurydice is how some people say it. I feel like Eurydice is way more fun to say, so I'm gonna say Eurydice. So Orpheus, they believe that Orpheus, as well as a man, was born to a king, and his mother was a muse of poetry, and that's where he got his powers from, right? So because Orpheus was born into royal blood, of course his wedding was probably like the event of the century, right? Because with Eurydice, when you think about, like, we still with our royals, we have the William and Kate wedding, like, it's televised. So when I'm assuming it was the same back then. And of course, obviously, because of this story with Eurydice, girl liked to have an outdoor wedding. They were having an outdoor wedding. Me down here in the South, if I ever got married, it's going to be indoor because it's too damn hot outside. My makeup would melt off, but it's Eurydice's day. She gets to do what she wants. So she's frolicking through the woods, getting ready to marry Orpheus, the love of her life, and she is confronted by a satyr, which, holy fuck, terrifying. So this is a male nature spirit that looks like a cross between a man and a horse. And if that's not scary enough, he has a permanent erection. So Eurydice starts to run through the woods from this demon that's trying to get her, we'll say. I mean, can you imagine a cross between a man and a horse with a permanent erection?
Centaur, right? If you look at it, if you look man and horse, that's a centaur.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you can look up Google images. That one-eyed snake is like a one-eyed cobra. Like, it is, these pictures terrifying. So she's running away, and she ends up falling into this pit of vipers. And the vipers bite her on the ankle, and she dies. All of this on her wedding day. Well, Orpheus, obviously, she doesn't show up at the aisle to get married, so he goes to look for her, and he finds her dead in this pit of vipers. So Orpheus decides that he's going to go down to hell to bring her back. I don't know why he thought she was in hell, but apparently that's where she was. So he went down to hell to get her. So he travels to the underworld, and he decides that he's going to play his music for Hades. And at this point, Persephone from the ODYSEE Mystery School, she's now spending her time. It's her 6-month time in hell, so she's there as well. And so he plays his music for Hades. And Hades is like, that's fine, cool. You can take her back to the land of the living. But here's the catch, because there's always a catch. In Greek mythology, there's always a catch, isn't there? She has to follow behind you, and you cannot turn around to look at her until you've both crossed into the land of the living, into the mortal world.
Good news, this is for you, babe.
Do what?
The strongest ever.
Y'all, this is kind of hysterical. Are we beating the bad guys this much?
It's so funny. Like we have a lot of live viewers right now, but they're like on the show. What is it about the religious office, or like what we're talking about when they're all on this show, right?
No, this is how desperate the controllers are right now. They're actually scared of Chantelle Morné and me. That's where we are in this timeline of a war. Is they're actually scared of us now. So that's fine. That's fine.
I counteract them with this. They don't know what this is. This is Mpepo, African sage. It's 10 times stronger than your usual sage.
Oh yes, I love those. Yes,
take that, buddy.
I mean, listen, they're not having as bad of a day as Orpheus was having. Let's just put it that way. So Hades decides that he's going to allow Orpheus to take Eurydice back to the land of the living. Or Eurydice has to follow behind Orpheus, and when they cross over the line into the mortal world, then he can turn around and look at her. But he can't look at her until they've crossed into the mortal world. So they get all the way to the finish line. Orpheus crosses the finish line, and in his excitement, he turns around. But Eurydice has not crossed the finish line yet. And so she evaporates into sand and disappears forever. Y'all, what biblical story is this? This is the story of Lot. And his
exactly.
Familiar with the biblical story of Lot. So this is the original story of Lot's wife when they were escaping Sodom. Lot was the nephew of Abraham, and his story is found in Genesis chapter 11 through 14 and 19. This is also, again, became Mithraism in the Roman Empire. So we're seeing so many things that are coming into these Judaic religions, which ain't nothing but Orpheism. I mean, if you grew up Christian, you grew up in an Orphic mystery school.
But you know what I'm also seeing here, and I don't know, maybe I'm jumping the gun, and if I am, tell me to shush up. But it's like the same tactics that they use now when you're looking at Star Wars. Go back to, was it Luke's, I can't remember the names. I've never been a Morné, please. I've never been a great Star Wars fan or whatever, but if we're looking at recently Jesse's decodes on the gateway experience that they use in the system, it's linked very, very much to the whole Star Wars thing. So they'll take someone's pain, like him losing his wife maybe, Like, and then that's how they turn them. And then they tell them, well, I'll turn you into this powerful being. And you basically have the abilities now to destroy God and go and fetch the love out of the abyss or wherever it is, or your love. It's crazy. It's crazy, this.
Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah.
You know, and I understand that for some people this is scary because now you're questioning your faith, you're questioning your religion. But I also want to remind you guys that the origin of the word religion means the worship of many legions, which means many demons. And that's not what spirituality is. Very different from religion. Having a spiritual relationship is a very personal, like spirituality is working on your own spirit, your own inner work, your own gnosis. You know, and so I would really challenge you guys to really sit, if this is making you uncomfortable or upset, sit with that for a moment. And why is it making you, is it because it makes you question God? Because God is not, the God of the church is not the God, God is not the real God.
The whole MK Ultra now, for me, it's based on pain.
Yep.
It's based on loss. It's based on suffering. It's based on taking revenge. It's taking young minds and bending them. Like when they talk about may the force be with you, they're not actually talking about God's force. They are actually talking about their manipulated force that they've manipulated to create certain energies and entities. And it just seems like there's this whole follow through, mind control. I mean, not too long ago, we were doing with you guys the bite model, right? You and Stephanie, the bite model that is pretty much used in churches and that sort of thing. This is it. But I mean, they just use it in different layers, the way I see it, in different intensities. So that's what I would call religion. For me would be soft programming. I don't know if there is a word like that, but to me it's soft or subtle programming, right? But then, of course, behind the scenes, like anything to do with the brotherhood, the cover life is always this peachy clean, so religious, so spiritual, so beautiful, so love and light, so helping everyone, sending kids overseas on scholarships or whatever it might be. But behind the scenes, it's a very nefarious agenda that just gets deeper and deeper and deeper. And it just seems to me exactly like you're saying, right? The religions, and this is just another level of it on a really
and we all know subtle programming is very powerful. It's unrecognizable.
Well, we know, of course.
It lasts for a long time.
It lasts forever until you. I mean, that's what witchcraft is. That's what spell casting is. You spell cast with your words and your spelling, writing, and obviously thoughts as well. But I don't think it's as powerful as your word. So if someone knows how to spell cast, they can spell cast over you. And if you're not aware of it, rest assured, it might be a long time before you become aware of it. And it's like a spider is spinning you in a web. You're the one that's got to get yourself out of it, right? Think about Lord of the Rings and that big spider thing. You're the one that's got to get yourself out of that web. You got yourself there. You got caught in the web. You've got to get yourself out. And I really think that at the end of the day is what we need to understand through all of this. It's crazy.
You think about it too, like the subtleties, Morné, you're speaking of. And it's like, as you're saying that, I'm thinking, how many people just trust somebody because they're a pastor or a reverend or a priest without any proof that these people are trustworthy? Like that's subtle mind control, that because they wear the collar or because they're a certain job, they're trustworthy, when we know for a fact that there are a lot of people in that career that are not trustworthy. Or we won't question something because it comes from the Bible, disregarding the fact that the Bible has been altered and changed so many times that it is one of the least, it should be one of the least regarded things as fact. It's not, and we look at the story of Lot's wife. Well, back in this time when they were studying the Orphic mystery schools, the story of Orpheus going to Hades, manipulating his wife back, that could have been a very scary story for people in that time. But for our time, the Lot's wife story is what gets us, right? Because we don't do the Greek deities anymore. So it's and evolve
split
it.
it. Yes. And literally it's that subtle split, right? So they'll take them, and when you're looking back at ancient mythology, I mean, all through the ages and all through the different civilizations, there's always similar deities. They've got different names, but there's a similar story. So they've literally take that head and they've split it. And they've made it into different things.
Whatever is going to get you to take a knee to the controllers, whatever is going to get you to bow down to the cabal, they'll do it for your culture to get you to do it. And that is the church for most of the Western world. That's probably what the biggest religion in the world is, Christianity. And so you just have to be aware of that. And
we know, sorry, Brice, just regarding Christianity, we know for a fact that they've taken a lot of books out of the Bible.
Oh, over 700.
You know, so I think a lot of the Bible is true, especially the Old Testament. That's my feeling. You know, the New Testament is up for debate, in my opinion. But when you're looking at the Old Testament, there's so much truth in that, especially when we're looking at the beginning times and stuff like that, right? But there's been books that have gone missing. So we're not getting the full picture. We're not getting the complete puzzle.
No.
We're getting 75% of the puzzle built, and there are missing pieces. And that's what people are being fed with as complete truth.
Well, and we have to understand too, the bloodline of the Old Testament from Abraham all the way down, that's the Rothschilds, y'all.
Yes.
They're not men you should be venerating. And they worship the Elohim that's in the Bible, that's multiple gods. And the missing books of the Old Testament I've covered on my channel, they're all grimoires or spell books. They're black magic spell books. Those are the missing books of the Old Testament that you don't see. These people were doing lots of bad stuff.
They still are. They don't think they're not. They've actually upgraded their skills so much since then. And I mean, you know, when we're seeing what's happening, things that we don't even know about, we don't even get to see or hear. And that's what's now being revealed by a lot of our whistleblowers and disclosures, because there are people on this earth, human beings, who have been taken into the system and put through every single step that there is. And it's brutal. It is brutal. And, you know, and really we need to know what's going on. And there's a beautiful side, you know, it's, in my opinion, and this is what someone actually said to me, which made a lot of sense. There's the light side, there's the dark side, and then there's the right side. And that's really, you know, and we get there through discernment. Discernment is understanding, obviously, what you see and what you feel, and those two have got to come together.
Discernment comes from inner knowing, which church takes from you immediately.
Absolutely.
And I loved Crucial 13 just said, let me find that quote again. I died for your sins, just bow to me. So people never think they have to be righteous. It's just worship. Absolutely. Well, we have the Orphic mystery cult, they believe, started in the 7th century BC. And it believes that, so this is where we get into more of the belief system of the cult now, because that was Orpheus. Now we're going to get into their belief system. That Orpheus was the incarnation of, drum roll please, Dionysus.
Yeah.
God on earth again. We have that idea of Jesus, the guy who's come back as a human, and boom, he's Dionysus. Sounds familiar, right? Orpheism is a set of religious practices and beliefs that revolve around Orpheus. Dionysius cults believe that Dionysius was killed. Okay, we talked about that last week with Zeus and how he created the flesh from the Titans, and we got that last week. They believe that to gain salvation, they first had to be initiated into the Dionysian mystery rites and then go through a purification process to relieve the suffering of the gods. They believed that they would live for eternity with Orpheus upon their death. They would walk the golden streets of heaven with Orpheus upon their death. Wow. Y'all, that was what we learned in Vacation Bible School back in the 90s. But it wasn't Orpheus, it was Jesus.
Yes, WWM or me, we are saying that
Nice.
what we saying, Brice is saying
Yes,
basically that.
there's many different ways to it. I went through this last week. Dionysus. There's a lot of different ways depending on where you're from in the world. That's how you're going to pronounce it. Doesn't matter. We're probably all pronouncing it wrong. So
Yeah.
All right. So they lived by the hymns of the Gospels of Orpheus. The creation story. They believed in the creation story that we talked about with the Titans and that we talked about last week. And so, yeah, I mean, do you want to talk about your finding in the Soviet Union, Shanti? Do we have time?
I think that's basically what they're saying as well, is like in the 50s, the Soviets discovered a whole lot of tokens of rituals, and it looks like runes, like, runes that were written about life, death, so everything like that. So that's what I found was in the 50s. And basically what they also just saying is like there was a lot, the music, so the spell casting through music. Wow, that is so insane, actually, if we think about that, because not just when we're looking at the Pied Piper and stuff, right? But music today, right? We've got to look at and I mean, what's amazing is that we, on one of my other channels as well, I'm going to be looking at decoding a lot of, especially the heavy metal bands. There's a lot of stuff in music, right? And a lot of these guys have obviously been through hell, especially those guys. And they're decoding, they're disclosing. Some of them are virtual signaling, I'm sure, as well. But it just shows you, like, obviously with that, music can really take you. And again, we look at any of the secret brotherhood and what they get up to. Any person that's been taken into the SRA system, the first thing they have to do is have a beautiful voice. Sound, music, singing is such an important way, because they use that to open up a lot of the spiritual gates, right? And then what are these stories we hear over time about these beautiful women playing these harps and whatever, and they kind of like entice the man, and that's how they bring the men to them as well. And I'm sure men would have done the same to women as well. I've no doubt about that. But that's kind of the picture, these beautiful nymphs, right? Yeah. Playing music, and every guy is like salivating after them. And it's very, and with nature animals. So, but there again, you look at people who play beautiful music to cattle, to cows, and you see how the cows respond. So it's so good, right? And it's so bad at the same time. It can be such a beautiful thing where you really lose yourself in the bliss of sound, because I believe our spirit is created from sound, sound, frequency, and vibration, right? So sound is always going to be something that resonates with us. So
my dog loves music. My dog loves music.
Yeah, totally. I mean, yeah, absolutely. And of course, poetry, words, beautiful words that entice, songs that entice, words that entice.
Right. And we think about, you think about too, the churches, even the big churches today, like the Bethel churches, they use hypnotic music where they'll repeat the same thing. And I think I told you guys, there was that one church in California that had a fog machine that they would claim was God every time the fog machine turned on, but it was always during music. So they're using the same, and I love music. Music is not, we're not saying, it's just they're using it in ways. And you think about how many kids, like they did this thing here in the United States where they were asking kids out on the street, like, to name 5 different states in the United States, and they couldn't do it, but they could tell you every lyric of every song that had just come out on the radio, right? Like, that's interesting. So they're not stupid kids. They obviously have the intellectual power to learn things, but they're being generated to learn something that's more nefarious than something basic about their own country, right?
I actually, very interesting, and here it is. I watched it this morning. Somebody sent me a reel on Lady Gaga, right? And Lady Gaga said in this reel, Kiss FM, or is there a radio station in America called Kiss? Kiss something.
Yeah.
Is the smartest radio station on the planet. She says that song of hers called Poker Face was played hundreds and thousands of times by tens and tens of thousands of radio stations across the world. Poker Face, Kiss FM was the only one who banned that song because they picked up the words in the song. And they said, we're banning the song. And she said, they're the smartest because they caught on. Isn't that interesting? And it's something, I don't want to like dig around in here now, but it's very interesting that there's so much of this. People don't even realize what they're listening to.
Right.
And then they repeat the words. They think they're not, or they hear another word and they repeat that word, but not realizing that it's actually that. And you say, it's insane. You're repeating that all the time, especially in music. And this makes such perfect sense. Not as you say, like the church music as well, hymns, all sorts of things. Wow, very interesting.
So you see how they're using that Orphic flair to kind of continue this mass manipulation of people and keep having people afraid of their own destiny as far as from cradle to grave, like what's going to happen after you die, having people perpetually terrified that they're not purified enough and they don't believe enough to walk down the golden streets with Orpheus. That's exactly what the church is. When I was a little kid, they would ask us all the time, do you believe Jesus was the Son of God? You're a little kid. You're like, yeah. And they're like, do you really believe? Do you really, really believe? Which would then get mind fuck you a little bit, And so they do that to keep you in their control. And I just want to share everybody watching right now, like, you're fine. God, you can't lose God's love. Like, there's no mistake in your being. There's everything that you struggle with in this world is not necessarily a sin against God. It's just something you're working through in order to refine your soul. And that's it. There's no human being out there that can determine your destiny, your soul's destiny. That is between you and God and no one else. No preacher, no pastor, no rabbi, nothing. No friend, no husband. That is between you and God. And that's it. And so I would just really encourage people to understand that when you break through this information, you start to understand that there is liberation on the other side of that panic, and that you are loved by so much and so completely by God. You don't need an Orpheus or anything to stand in between you and God. So,
and neither do we need a stiff Richard. Richard is apparently quite stiff.
Stiff Richard, you might want to
is he getting turned on by what we're talking about?
Stiff Richard, go find yourself a girlfriend so you can be loosey goosey Richard, not Stiff Richard.
Hang loose, dude. Just hang loose, chill.
Hang loose and chill. Listen, Stiff Richard. There's a strip club here in Atlanta. It's a gay strip club. It's called Swinging Richard. I've gone with my gay friends a lot to that. It's very fun. It's fun to be a straight girl at a gay bar. It's fun. Swinging Richards is wonderful, Richards. So if you're stiff, just go to Swinging Richards and you won't be stiff anymore.
Or come to yoga with us. Sign up for our Zoom classes.
He heard about that. He heard about that perpetual erection I was talking about earlier. And he was like, "You rang? Here I am."
Oh God. Anyway, wow. Listen, this has been super interesting. Do we I'm sorry. Okay, are we finished, Brice?
Yeah, that's good. I can talk about swinging
next week
all day if you guys want to, but
I think it's
that's
lip
a different channel, guys. That's a totally different channel.
Dick.
All the poor Richards out
as
there.
As it is, right? Wow. Okay, guys. Well, yeah, I think that's been quite phenomenal. Today I had a fantastic discussion, especially with our trolls. We've kept us super entertained.
I invite the trolls to come back all the time. This is fun,
exactly.
You guys. You provide us with tons of entertainment.
I don't know what they think they're doing. Anyway, it's quite cute.
I love that. Shanti's like, they're so cute. As those trolls are so cute. As we say that in the South, bless their hearts. They tried, didn't they? Bless their hearts.
Bless the hearts.
What the hell are you talking about?
Those poor little
well, Steph's Richard. Why would Steph Richard, like, he made a comment about Beleantro eliminating 87% of all heavy metals out of our human temple.
I think he thought we were talking about heavy metals and not heavy metal bands. I think he missed that part when we were talking about music.
Limp Richard, off you go, toddle off.
Oh, poor Richard. Richard just needs to find himself a girlfriend or a boyfriend, whatever.
Whatever floats your boat.
Whatever.
Anyway, that was really, really good. So I enjoyed the conversation today, Brice. Thank you so much. Crucial 13, please contact me, email me. I'd love to chat with you. You certainly seem to be having some great intel. I'd love to connect with you and see what you're up to. Yeah. Awesome. Okay, guys and girls, thank you so much for our wonderful show today. Lots of entertainment happening on Aquarius Rising Africa today. Apparently, people don't want us to know these things.
We should be Aquarius Rising Africa, where we go to poke fun of the cabal.
Exactly. Apparently, we owned by the cabal, the whole of Africa. So let's see. They ain't taking my continent without a fight. I'll tell you that much. Anyway, guys and girls, thank you so much. God bless you all. Take good care. And I would suggest you probably watch the stream maybe 2 or 3 times. Maybe you've got to delete or edit out all our. I know we leave the trolls in there.
No, we love. They're cute. As you said, Shanti, they're cute. They're adorable. Bless their hearts. They're so adorable. Let's leave them in.
And they're sitting there snorting, getting all. Anyway, well, funny. Okay, thanks, guys. Lots of love. See you tomorrow with. I will see you with Alice Parola at 4 o'clock again, and then Tom Althouse at 6:30. God bless you all. Take good care. Have a beautiful, beautiful week. Cherry buys.